Good afternoon, viewers, and thank you once again for joining us for another edition of Captured by Women. My name is Rosemond Aite, and as always, I have my pretty presenters in the persons of Petra and Alma joining us for the show. Today, we have an interesting lineup for you. We are going to be talking about some 50 journalists who were deported from Australia on grounds of being fake. And then we are also going to be talking about how prepared we are as a nation for the rains. We know that we almost have an annual event where anytime it rains, we have some disaster. So today we are going to talk about how prepared we are to avert any loss of life and property. And then we will also feature an amazing woman. She is very versatile, doing many things, and I'm sure that from her profile, you will learn quite a few things. So stay with us. It promises to be exciting. We'll be right back.
So you're still here on Captured by Women, and we're taking a spin on the very interesting topic of some Ghanaians faking as journalists and going with the Ghanaian team to the Commonwealth Games in Australia, and it's very worrying. And some developments have come out of that, such as the suspension of the deputy minister, and they're also investigating. So we won't go too deep into it, but we just want to find out what people think concerning this very topic. Ladies, is it that Ghanaians are so desperate to get out there and by all means they'll find some way of joining a bandwagon to exit the shores of Ghana as it is? Well, I'm not too surprised because, you know, there was a research that rolled out recently, PEW, and it says about 75% of Ghanaians are willing to step out. Just, I don't know if it's the air or the grass, but whatever it is, they want to move out to see something. Is that really what the situation is?
Well, it's a legacy issue. I mean, for as long as I can remember, it's always been a conversation. From JSS, we've always been talking about how people are traveling and migration. It's an issue. I sort of felt that it was getting better because we were not hearing of the incidents of people stowing away and how it used to be. But this gives us an indication that we still have a problem. Maybe it's just the mode or the approach. It's become more organized and people are taking advantage of things like this. So group events where there's a list and someone has to put you on the list. It does happen quite a lot, and I quite remember from my past job in the airline industry, several issues like that, where we always have a situation where if there's like a national contingent attending a conference or a meeting or something related to a large group, some people always find a way to try and fix themselves or use that as a way to extort from vulnerable people. And unfortunately, it keeps happening. I just feel that this is a very big issue because it's tied to like the nation. So it's the national contingent and it's sports, and sports always gets attention. And you know how we had the big issue with Brazil. This just brings my mind like, okay, do we always have to have something like a scandalous situation? But we have to think about what makes anyone feel they have to leave to make it.
But it comes back to the organization of the whole, let me say, the event and the people or situations that have made this possible. It comes back to the officials who handle the personnel. It comes back to the processes that were put in place. In my mind, I think it's a clear case of either complicity on the side of persons, either in the sports ministry or at the sports authority, or it's a case of just gross incompetence.
But Rosemond, I don't know what the outcome of the investigation is going to be, but there are times where I know from experience that the ministry or whoever is organizing the trip may not be directly involved in the list. There could be an outsourced company, it could be a travel agency, it could be an office somewhere that is doing these things, and people just take advantage of them.
No, but the point is that the ministry is overall responsible. The buck stops with them. Somebody has to make sure that the list is clean, is genuine, because this is not, as you said, it's a legacy issue. This is not the first time people do such things. So somebody has to take responsibility.
True.
You understand? So it comes back to them.
I was even asking a friend of mine that how come is the deputy and not the minister himself?
And
I was
because it's the chairperson of the GOC. So it comes back to people in authority and their actions and inactions that make such situations happen.
It could also be complacency because it's something that we don't really think that something like that will happen, or it's very frequent that it becomes part of the system. But then maybe the numbers are also huge. Could have possibly maybe one or two.
Exactly, that's my point. You know, when it's one or two, we can excuse it. We can say maybe really there were some mistakes.
Can we?
No, and it's not. Don't get me wrong. Excuse it as not punishable, but it's okay, maybe really genuinely a mistake happened. But when it's 6 years bloated,
no, but
you get it. And that's so many people. And
when somebody gets into a list to go abroad,
it happens all the time. That's what I'm saying. So if all the time it happens, and even this time it's happened again, and it's increasing numbers, it means, like you said, it's more organized. They seem to have gotten better at it. And so my problem is, what then are the structures that, you know, this sports ministry always puts in place? And what are the checks? Or is it that all the time we know we will fix our people? This is my concern, that it has to be people in authority who have that power to be able to say, put my person on it. And with that, I can't ask questions. That's the Ghanaian way. I feel that, okay, if I'm a subordinate, okay, boss says I should put this person's name, so it goes. But if it's not them, then really, how do these names just infiltrate from nowhere? Because if I heard about it, maybe someone I know would have, you know, I'm just, that's on the lighter side. But really, and then my problem is, why would you think that it's okay to pose as a journalist? Why not the sportsman? Which means someone has given them the idea that this is the way to go. It's easier when you attempt to be this. So it's a practice. They know it. They know the loopholes, and they're trying to fit into it. And so that's why I'm worried. I want these investigations to come out and give us, you know, the people who are to be punished. It's not one of those things that will just say, well, the minister has been punished for it. I know there are subordinates who also have to go down with him, because it's over the time we hear this over and over and over again, but oftentimes nothing is done about it. But this one, I'm happy that they picked up on it.
I think eventually we'll find out whether, as we said, whether it was a deliberate, arranged, you know, a situation to get people in there.
It was definitely deliberate and arranged.
Petra, let's wait for the investigations to come out. Let's give the situation and everybody the benefits of the doubt. And we are hoping that this will be publicly done, so that we'll all know what exactly happened and what to avoid in the future. But in terms of the damage to our reputation as a nation, you know, our brand, our brand is tarnished. Our reputation, you know, has been touched, and it takes, once you lose a reputation, it's very difficult to rebuild it. You know, not to talk about the fact that you know, last week when we were talking about the issue relating to our actions and how and the value system and how it impinges on what we do. These are the very actions and inactions that retrogresses as a nation. Why must we have such a serious gaffe? You know, and it affects us economically. Investors will be thinking, potential investors will be thinking, are these a bunch of people who can be trusted? So the damage is irreparable. And I think that the way to go is to speedily resolve it, let us know, and then those who get punished, or the systems put in place to prevent it in the future.
But, you know, it goes back to also the morale of the people who are there to represent Ghana. I mean, when you hear something like this has happened to your team, you are demoralized naturally as a sports person, because you went there to represent Ghana. You are doing your very best to put Ghana on a good pedestal. And some naughty ones along the line are trying to spoil all the good work you're doing. And so when they do this, it's not about you, the individual. You may think, well, it's just me. If there's any issue, I'll be punished, and that's it. But it goes to, you know, the whole team. Right now, if they don't come back with any medals, we've wasted money, we've wasted time. Seemingly, I mean, they don't even feel like they need to support Ghana anymore, to put their face out there for Ghana, because at the end of it, what did they get than, you know, scandals and all that? So sometimes they need to think further.
Has taken the shine out
of what they're
doing. I feel that we also need to think about how we educate our general population about things like this. So the general feeling of, I want to travel. Why do I want to travel? How do I get to travel? Because there's always the temptation to want to use dubious means to get out. And there's really no problem with traveling. I mean, everybody migrates at a point or goes somewhere somehow. And it's never going to go away, the fact that people want to travel. But it's just that, how do you go about it? I mean, if you want a passport, what do you do? If you want a visa, what do you do? It's also the fear that people feel like, okay, if they walk into an embassy, they'll be refused the visa. So they have to find another means to go. And we may have to begin to engage, because there's so many interesting stories of people selling their houses, selling their businesses for money to give to a connection man just to go, and then they get onto the other side and realize that, look, there's no gold on the streets of London or US. You actually have to work. And coming back now becomes a very difficult thing, because, okay, so what am I coming back to? I've already sold. And some even go as to the extent of selling their family property without the consent of their other family members. It happens a lot. And tears families apart and everything. So we do have to engage, especially young people, because they become the most vulnerable. They hear stories that make them think that the streets of everywhere outside Ghana are paved with gold, and all you have to go is just go, and you come back. It's the images that we give to them. It's the things that we talk about. So all of that, I mean, it's very unfortunate that we have to always be dragged into things like that. Everywhere you go, people remember Ghana for different things. I like being remembered as a Ghanaian for Nkrumah. I mean, you go to places and people say, well, the first thing is people say, Asamoah, are you related to Asamoah Jan? I'm like, oh no. Right. But then they always talk about Kwame Nkrumah. So we should try and be remembered for the good things about being Ghanaian.
I mean, we must learn the lessons from this. And hopefully this, will not be repeated, because it's, well, hopefully, we can't have this situation.
I really want to hope. I really want to hope.
But oftentimes when
because we have to learn. Otherwise, we keep making the same mistakes again, So I really hope that, this particular one would be dealt with thoroughly, and then it will serve as a deterrent, whichever way it goes, to prevent such future occurrences. Yeah.
We certainly hope so. But I guess what we say here is not what, it's final, but the plea to people outside, like Petra said, that importance of believing in yourself, no matter how hard your economy is. Really, if we don't stay to build it, I think the talk about traveling is not the fact that you can't travel. Attempt at all means to travel, because there are things out there that you see which are not in your country that would inspire you to even want to do more.
Yes.
However, the means. And the point is, what are you going to do? Do you have someone who's going to even take care of you? And people forget that even when you have a relative, Petra, when you go outside and you live with a relative,
you wouldn't stay for them.
Exactly, you can't be there forever. You can't depend on them forever, because they also have people they have to take care of. It's a cycle. So at what point then are you also going to be able to stand on your own 2 feet? It takes a while. It's a process. So gradually you would get there. Just take your time. Let God be gracious enough to you. Go through the right process so that when you look back, you didn't do anything that's worthy of you being imprisoned or being sanctioned for. You've done the right thing. Then you can move forward peacefully and happily. But anyway,
living
guys,
abroad as an illegal immigrant is not a very pleasant
it's very stressful. When you hear
anyone who's ever traveled could tell you that it can be very stressful. The kind of stories you hear are just heartbreaking.
Anyway, guys, so you heard us rant and take a spin on the topic of having Ghanaians who pose as fake journalists being deported. But of course, we hope that doesn't happen again, because we want to see Ghana in a better light. That's what we hope here. We hope you hope the same for Ghana as well. We'll take a break. We'll be back on Captured.
Welcome back to the show. So today for Big Bang, we are discussing the rains. As we all know, the rains are back, and the question we need to be asking ourselves is how ready we are as a nation to prevent any disasters during this rainy season. And to answer that question, we've been joined by Mr. George Ayisi, who is the Director of Communications at NADMO. Sir, you're welcome to Captured by Women.
Thank you.
All right. So as we said, the rains are in, and we know that every year we register some form of disaster in terms of loss of property, and all that. So we just want to find out from you, what measures is NADMO putting in place to prevent any loss of life and property for this rainy season?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, NADMO is a disaster management organization. And as part of our preparedness towards the floods, it's twofold. The structure and then the education that we do. When I talk of the structure, we are looking at the drainage system in the towns and villages and the city as well. How are the drains? Are they free, devoid of debris and others, to allow the free flow of water? It's important. Or they are silted. If they are silted, what are we doing to desilt them? It's very important, and other human activities that will impede the free flow of water. We need to get prepared on that score. And then the other aspect of the education, how are we preparing the people towards the upcoming floods, or the rains that's likely to be floods? If there are floods, what do they do to get out of the danger of the floods? The floods can, take some people, destroy properties and others. And so we carry out education from the zonal level to the district level to the regions and the national. We have our volunteers, we call them the DVGs, disaster volunteer groups in our communities. So they carry out the education at the local level. At the district level too, we have them helping. And then at the regional levels too, we have the PR units attached to the regions. We've just created a complete communications directorate at NADMO. That's the first time this has been done, so we can engage the public properly on how to conduct themselves to avoid disaster. Okay, so these are
Mr. You see very well what you said. Really, for most of us, I don't think it's new. We keep hearing this over and over again. I'm interested in finding out in this particular year, is NADMO bringing anything new to the scene in terms of how to manage these floods? First of all, I remember you earmarked some areas, safe areas, shelters that people could go to if there was even a flood. How safe are the shelters that you've even earmarked? And how prepared are they to shelter these people? Because if it's just a bare park that we've opened and say you can come there, and supposing someone's place is really flooded, they're going to have to stay there for more than 24 hours. Whilst I'm there, what do I do? How do I sleep? How do I take care of myself? So when you talk about education, I'd be willing to hear more about this. But tell us a bit about what NADMO is doing.
Yeah, thank you. As you know, NADMO has a unit called the Relief and Reconstruction Unit. And so when there are victims of flood and others, as you've said, we take them to the safe havens. And so if they are there, we take care of them in between time, 24 hours, 48 hours, or 72 hours. We will take care of them by providing them with some relief items. If we need to feed them, we'll feed them. We get them mattresses and others to sleep and rest at those places. Okay, so in between time, as long as they are those safe havens, they are our responsibility as NADMO. And so we do take care of them. And then thereafter, we look at their property. We need to reconstruct, okay, resettle them. That is also what we do. If we can support them to bring up their structures and co, we'll get the relevant agencies. You know, we are a coordinating agency. And so as a coordinating agency, we have other agencies like the Institute of Engineers, the assemblies, the fire service, and others.
Before you get to the point of reconstruction, I'm very concerned about the issue of logistics. Because last year, every year we have rains. Every year we have rains. And every year we hear the story of NADMO saying, putting up their hands in the air and saying we don't have what we need to help people. How different is this year going to be? Because I commute in an area that is flood prone, and I see it every year where people's homes are flooded and they lose property. And of course, when you talk about going into safe places, it's a good thing to have safe places, but when they get there, because I remember last year there was the issue of NADMO saying they just had mattresses and plates, they didn't have enough to take care of them. So what's different this year? Because I feel that it's not your responsibility to make sure there are no floods.
Yeah, of course.
You can't handle that. The fact that the drainage system is not what it should be, or the attitudinal change that we need to ensure that people are not dumping things in the gutters, is also not your responsibility. So yours is to... It's
part of our responsibility. That's why we carry out the
education. Okay, great. So I'm going to ask you questions about that as well. But what happens with the logistics? Do you have the logistics? Should the populace be comfortable and say, touch wood, something happens, NADMO is going to take care of me?
Yeah, that brings me, when I started, I said there's some budgetary matters, so we need to speak to the budgetary matters. In 2016, the budget allocated to NADMO for relief items was 33.8 million Ghana cedis, but the actual 2016, the actual was 10 million that was released. Yes, and so a deficit of about 23.8 was left. In 2017, the austere measures and co. So a budget of about 30 million was given to NADMO. In reality, 5.9 was released. Austere 2017, the government had embarked on an austere measure. And then in 2018, this year, we are looking at 52.9 million allocated to NADMO for relief items.
How much has been released?
So far, you know, the first quarter preparation for the release is yet. I've been briefed that the processes have been concluded. It comes in tranches. It doesn't come this day. On matters of the administrative budget, that's different from relief items. The administrative budget has its own. In 2016, 3 million.
No, but please, before you move, I'm concerned about, you just mentioned.
No, I want to.
Has the money for 2018 been released?
Not yet.
No, some is being released.
Okay.
Yeah. So now let me dovetail it into this on the relief items. Sometimes we do what we call prepositioning. With prepositioning, it means you procure the items in our warehouses, and then we forward them to the regions, and then onward transmission to the districts.
Okay.
Districts, okay, and then the district deal with the communities and co. And so we have warehouses at all these places. Okay, so as we speak, our 4 major warehouses in the city, in the capital, are well stocked. Okay, and we've sent some items into the regions, but the regions are not well stocked because when you send them, they're in anticipation of the flood that is coming. Other things may happen,
but
forms
when
of
you
disaster,
talk about
and so they
stocks,
may use some of them. You get it?
George,
so
when you talk about stocks and well stocked, what is stocks and what is well stocked, so that we understand what our sense of readiness is? Because everybody watching us at home is thinking, okay, what happens when there's a flood? Should we be expectant and say, okay, maybe when I'm right now, let me go along with the blankets? Would NADMO have, what does NADMO have? We should know, so that we can manage our expectations. So when you say stocked, the 4 centers in Accra are stocked, but the regions are not well stocked. What is stocked? Like, how many people can the centers in Accra cater for, and how many can the regions cater for?
You know, we do continuous stocking. That's important. And then saying the 4 warehouses are well stocked, we are looking at, let's say about 10,000 people, victims, you know, affected. You know, we can take care of them for about 2 weeks with what we have as of now.
That sounds like a lot.
Yes, then we can restock those ones. You get as it goes on.
But coming back to the issue of education, so you said that you have a team, you have the disaster volunteer groups who are in communities, district, regional. So what is the structure? Because I don't feel any...
I've never been engaged by anybody.
I haven't heard any message relating to preparedness for the rains, what you should do, what you should not do. So, because a larger part of the preparation is prevention. So
and that is our
so in terms of the education drive, what's happening at that front? Because I haven't seen anything yet. So what exactly? Probably you can use this opportunity to also share information.
Being here is even part of it.
Yes,
you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah, and we have our officers also moving into the communities around, and then in the localities.
If you say communities, which communities? Do you have, for instance, we know there are flood-prone areas. So is your focus on the areas that is your focus on these areas? Is that in terms of your progression? Your priority now?
With the community visitations.
Is your priority on the flood-prone areas?
Yes, we do that. And then the general education using the media, the television, the radio, and then now, we have prints. These are printouts. We are trying to collaborate with Graphic and Times to see, as they've been doing for SNITs, so that they put their newsletters and others in the pages of the graphics, so we can put some of these things in the pages of the papers, and then as they move along the country, these things are distributed. But for
those who need it most,
yes.
Is that, I mean, I'm just thinking, for those who are most affected, because we don't normally have a typical demographic of those who are affected. How does putting a flyer in a newspaper reach them? I mean, I'm just trying to, in terms of the priority.
A good example.
English. Is it translated in other languages for the local people?
We put our people on local programs.
No, we're talking about the literature.
For now.
Okay, it's all in English.
Yes, it's in English.
Okay, so
we are trying to get partners to help us to produce in our
There's an area in Accra, I'm sure everybody knows. Kaneshi First Light, Kaneshi Market, that area is seriously flood prone. And so the market is like the biggest community in that area.
We've started the education.
But in assessing your education, do you think it's far-reaching enough? Because it looks as if we're waiting until the rains really get people. We have numbers of people, you know, dying or passing away. Then the brouhaha starts, and then NADMO will react as expected. Because we don't hear. I'm being honest. We sit on TV every time, but we haven't heard anything.
Yes, we've now set up our complete communications directorate, and so we have, you know, began these things.
And
we had a
yes, I was going to say,
no.
Because over the time we've had these disasters happening.
Yes.
So this is not going to even be our first year. It's been happening. Don't you think your education should be a continuous program?
It's been so.
But how come we
just
can't
recently,
feel it? We on the ground don't feel it.
I'm surprised you say so, because recently we, during the dry season, fires and lightning, we were all over educating the public on
yes, for fires, but not for floods.
Yes, and so it means right after that we've
it fits into what we're saying, that you'd wait for a dry season.
I've been on other platforms, educating people.
But you're just
my men are all over.
You're just
I put my technical directors on TV, on radio, to speak to the issues.
Right, but like you rightly outlined, that during the dry season we're talking about fires, because that seems to be the focus. But can we make it a continuous program such that even in the dry seasons we're still talking about the floods? Because we know they'll come. But let's go back to prevention. I'm worried about these flood-prone areas. And I'm coming to you because you say NADMO is a coordinating body, which is brilliant. So yes, you're educating us, let's make desilting a habit to rotate, but they're not doing it. It's not being done on large scale, and so we'll have the floods come. These flood-prone areas ahead of time, is it possible to move them, relocate them, rather than wait for the disaster to happen and then resettle? Has NADMO thought about that side?
Definitely. As well? The new Act, Act 927, is the new Act that empowers NADMO to take certain decisions. The previous Act didn't give us those powers. Now, when we have buildings and other structures and waterways, NADMO is empowered to pull them down. But there's a case. Now that but is we need an ally to make it effective. An ally, and the ally has been drafted and forwarded to Parliament. So once it is passed, then we clothed with the powers to so act with those authority. Until then, is the Metro Assembly, the district assemblies, and co. That has those powers. And we collaborate with them.
So I think either Petra and Nanama sought to find out what is being done differently this year round. So you said that you fully set up your communication directorate. But in terms of the interventions, is there anything different that is being done so that we'll see a different kind of result? Is there anything different that you're doing apart from the strategy that you've adopted previous years for this year?
We have our machines at points that are dredging the drains. Most of them, Community 18 and 20 as we speak. We have our dozers and excavators there working. You get it, and other places across the nation, our men are working on that so that we can have the drainage, open up for free flow of water. That's important.
I just have one last question. There's a large number of young people who live on social media. Is NADMO engaging the communities on social media? So are there any handles you like to share with us where people can find information?
We have our NADMO, on Facebook, nadmo.gh, I think.
So when we go on Facebook, we'll just find NADMO. All right, so we'll get information. That's cool.
We've had Mr. AC from NADMO speaking to us about the plans they are putting in place to at least lessen some of the level of disaster we usually have during the rainy season. So don't go away. We'll be right back with the other segments.
Welcome back. On Career Woman for today, we have a lovely lady who has joined us in studio to discuss her interesting transition from the corporate world to successfully starting and running her own business. With us today is Alma Shirley Martins, who happens to be the CEO of an interesting business, and we're going to allow her to talk about her business and everything that she does. And interestingly, it's something edible, which is exciting for me.
So let her get to it.
So tell us, for me, I was very excited to read about your transition from corporate into owning your own business. I want to know the story. So how did you decide to leave banking and then go into starting your own business, and how was it like for you?
I left banking when the conditions was not too conducive for me. I was at the credit department. I was with the credit department. So my job required me going out to meet clients. Sometimes you go and there's dust, the fumes from cars. It took a toll on my health. So I sat down and I thought about it, and I decided to just do something for myself. Growing up, my mom is a caterer, so we took up to cooking for occasions and all that, which I really loved, and I still do. So I was like, why can't I just go into something like that and do something for myself rather than being here and always falling sick here and there. So I left the bank and I started with a corporate catering. I was actually serving food, lunch, to be precise, to banks and other institutions. And I was doing very well until the place where I was working, there was an issue with that place actually. The person who rented the place to me was like, okay, I want to sell the place to you. And I was really interested, I wanted to buy, but I was cautioned by a hairdresser who was just next to me. And she told me that that whole place belongs to Railway. That's the Nyaho stretch.
Right.
Okay, so I went to Railways to find out, to verify. And I was told that I was the 4th person coming to verify on that same
piece of property.
Yes. So Railway got upset and they came to lock up the place. So I had to fold up. I went back to the house and I was still doing it from there. And then I developed interest for cake making. So I was still doing corporate catering from my house. But I was doing cake underground. So for me, the cake making actually became a boom when on Fridays when I'm going to serve lunch, I give them fruits, sometimes drinks, sometimes I surprise them with a cake. So everybody was like, oh, your cakes are nice, your cakes are nice. Then I was like, so why don't you rather go into this? Then I decided to take up the cake seriously. So I've been baking for the past almost 5 years now.
Full time?
Yes, full time.
Yeah,
I've actually stopped corporate catering. I only do food for weddings, for occasions, for functions. But the cake is the main thing I do. So I started with a school 2 years ago to teach, which I'm still running.
So your experience with cooking, catering and baking, was there any formal training? Because you talked about the fact that your mom was already into catering. So is it something you picked up naturally or you had to go and get skills training as well?
With the food, there was no formal training. With the cake, I actually took some training from someone, but it was not up to my expectation. I think it was not really what I was expecting. So I stopped along the way and I took to learning on my own. So there are times I travel outside the country to learn. I look out for those who are doing well in other countries and I travel to go and learn from them. So most of the time I'm outside learning this, learning that. Because I run a school, you have to be
always.
So I go out most of the time to learn. I'm still learning though.
Alma, let me backtrack a bit in this whole journey. At the point where you said because you were leaving the banking field, you were cooking, had you started the corporate cooking or you left completely before starting?
I left the bank completely before I started the corporate catering.
Right, so there was no gap where you were bridging. But anyway, I'm just interested in, while you were at work, in your corporate field, did you ever try cooking for your friend, the people in your workplace or anything and get the inspiration from that? No.
It was just
that's an interesting
it is.
So how did you just decide to leave and start something? Okay, or what was the timeline? Did you like stop work on Friday and start the business on Monday?
No,
was there a gap?
When I actually stopped, when I was in the bank, there was a woman who was bringing us lunch. So anytime they come, sometimes the food is good, sometimes it's not, and I'm like, I can do better. I can do this.
Better,
and when the woman, at that time, the banks were actually paying the caterers monthly. So they take care of the food for the workers. Unlike now that they give the money to them and they top up to pay. So when she's coming for her money, you realize that, you know, she's making so much and she's happy. She looks fulfilled. So, and sometimes the food is not really on point. So I was like, look, I can do this better. So let me just. So what I decided, I was going to leave the bank. I had my plans.
You had thought through it.
This is what I was going to do. So when I left the bank, less than a month, I started.
Okay. But and the reason why I ask about that gap, because usually people, they jump and then they find out that, okay, what did I just do? I jumped too quickly. So I was I was wondering if you had like a backup plan. So what happens if the business didn't go as planned? Did you ever think that?
I never thought about that because I was really positive that it will work.
Okay.
I am one positive person.
Obviously,
if I set out to do something, I'm like, no, it has to work.
It has to work.
It has to. It just has to.
It's possible.
Yes, it is.
Right.
It's very possible. So I didn't think about what if I fail, what if it doesn't work out.
Which is the reason why lots of people don't try anything new, because they keep thinking, what happens if I fail?
Yes.
What happens? What will people say? So they
I don't
never
think
try.
about that. If you don't fail, you don't learn.
Right.
You know, so even if I fail, it wouldn't stop me. It would rather be a stepping stone for me to learn from my mistakes and rather build on that and move ahead.
Reading your profile, I realized that, okay, so you are a past banker, caterer, you are an aspiring communications professional, and a judge.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
That's a very interesting combination. So in terms of future prospects, is it that you intend putting the business on hold and pursuing, because I know that you said in the profile, you said that you had to put the communications studies on hold due to 1 or 2 reasons, but you do aspire to go back to it and then also become a judge. So in your timeline of future events, where does that come in? And because it's quite an interesting mix, and I'm intrigued to know about that.
You know, starting the cake business, it's very involving, it's very time consuming. But I have gotten to a point where if I don't go to the bakery in a week, we'll still sell.
Okay.
I have trained my workers to work like me.
Yeah, okay.
I train them from the scratch. I don't just take people who already know how to bake. I take people, even if you know, I still teach you how I want it to be done. So I have 5 workers now.
Okay.
But they do everything, even if I am not around.
Which is really great.
So the whole of this week, actually, I've not been working.
But businesses.
Yes, of course. Business will still go on. I receive the calls. I tell them, okay, we have a cake for tomorrow. We have a cake for Friday, and they do as I want.
Okay.
Do you get it? So a time will come where, yes, I can leave them. Even now, I can leave and just go to school and do what I want to do. So it's not like I'm going to put my business on hold to become a judge. No. Baker's Bar is not going down now. Anyway.
Exactly. I was
Definitely
not. You haven't mentioned the name of your company since we started this talk. So I would want to know, and also to tell us some of the things you've been able to do at Baker's Bar.
Okay.
Oh, the types of things that you, I mean, you bake, the types of, I mean,
The
I'm sure we'll see
cakes,
this one.
what else?
So what exactly do you do? What are your range of, you know, products, so to speak?
At Baker's Bar, we do cakes for weddings, birthdays, engagements, parties. We do pastries. We do food when we feel like. When we have a lot of cake orders, I don't take food orders. So I know when to take food orders and when not to. So with our prices, our minimum is 150 Ghana cedis
for
a cream cake. That's an 8 inches size. Around 8 inches cream cake with fruits on it. If you want fruit with chocolate, then we are talking about 200 Ghana cedis. And that's our minimum, actually.
So where is Baker's Bar and how do we get in touch?
Baker's Bar is located in Dansuman. We are close to the Liberty Sports Stadium.
You'll be talking. Let me see.
So Alma, I just wanted to find out. I mean,
wow. This is beautiful, Alma.
So what is this flour edible?
Yes.
Or it's just decorative?
It is edible.
Wow.
So what do you use to make it? I'm just interested.
I use flour paste. We call it flour paste. That's what we use to do flowers.
So
the
you
sugar
carved
flowers.
it out yourself. I mean, you molded the flower.
Yes, I teach sugar flowers.
Okay.
So I do.
So if someone wants to come to learn, how much does it cost for a program?
I have different packages.
Okay.
For the beginners class, it's 2,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And that class is for 1 month. We provide all the ingredients and the tools you need. After the beginners class, you come for the master class. During the master class, that is where we teach how to work on wedding cakes.
Okay.
I teach a bit of sugar flowers in the master class as well. And that class is 1,500 cedis for 5 days.
For 5 days, okay.
Okay, Alma.
The money has got you all.
I'm interested in the. Do you have a class like for the everyday woman who works but wants to learn how to bake cakes for her own family consumption?
Yes.
Okay.
I have classes like that. I have 2 days whipped cream cake class.
Okay.
And in that class, you learn how to bake a red velvet and a chocolate cake.
Yes.
So within 2 days, you can learn that?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Then
and how much does that cost?
That's only 500 Ghana cedis.
Oh, then we're in business. I have to enroll.
Okay.
Yep, it seems everyone will
I have
there.
that class coming up on the 1st and 2nd of May.
Okay.
This next
Okay.
month.
Okay.
So overall, how many people would you say you've trained over the years?
I have trained over 120 students.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have.
Some of whom work with you, obviously, or?
Yes, I have some of my students who are now my workers.
Okay.
I have students who are now working on their own.
Okay.
Some of them are doing very well.
Okay.
Very well.
Okay. So I was about to ask a question about, you know, looking at you and reading your profile, and looking at what you've done, what you've achieved, how you've spread yourself and all that. There are so many people watching us, especially women, who sometimes I think maybe they are stuck in the routine of life. They want to, you know, be versatile. They want to try something, but they are so burdened as to how to go about it, what to do, how to get started. What would you want to say to people out there who are watching you and who want to be like you and who want to break out and do something different?
You know, this part of our world, I think we've passed the era where people think women should be put in one little corner. For me, I don't think anybody can put me in a corner. I can't even survive there, seriously. I like to make my own money. I like to do what I want to do. So if you are a woman out there thinking about what to do, thinking about how to break out, look, I know some of them are actually scared. What if it doesn't work out? What if? Look, put those negative attitudes behind.
Okay.
You should be positive. Whatever you set out to do it well. Positivity it's just, that is all you need.
Okay.
Just be positive. Just tell yourself that it will work.
Okay.
When you start and you have hitches, just sit back, analyze what happened, or what didn't I do right, and just get back on track.
Okay.
We have passed that era where, okay, he needs to give me money before I do this. No, it should be your life. It should be, do something for yourself.
Okay.
Anyway, and on that note, it's time to cut. Okay, I can't wait for you guys to. Oh, but the knife is very small. Like, wow. It feels nice to cut.
Soft?
Yeah. Well, not too soft.
Is there
not
chocolate
too
in this
hard.
cake?
Just.
Alma, is there
Petra,
any
you
Wait
sound
and
like if there's no
see.
chocolate, you pass out.
I mean,
Are you doing something?
chocolate is my it.
This knife is so small, we can barely
Okay,
even get a
we'll
piece
just
out. Okay, but I see red velvet.
Oh, red velvet.
Oh my
that
God,
works as
this
well.
just looks.
People, I want
This
to
just
do
looks-
communion because I can't get the whole piece out. But okay, let's just dismantle it there.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe
take a
you
piece?
take. Yep.
Okay.
I will take this piece and pass it around.
Okay. Rama, you're not eating your own cake.
Oh, this is There's something in it, like
Thank you.
raspberry. There's some berry. There's something nice in it,
That's
like
a Swiss
sweet.
meringue.
A what? Sorry.
A Swiss
Sweet
meringue.
meringue.
We call it Swiss meringue.
And what's that? It sounds very
We're
complicated.
not going to do any more
Complicated but
cake
nice.
lessons. You should pay and go and learn that thing. But anyway, guys, we'd like to say thank you to Alma. Thank you so much for coming to teach us.
Thank you so
and
much.
also inspiring young ladies out
Definitely.
there. I'm sure they learned a thing or two.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a piece of cake, very lovely cake, and I'm definitely signing up for the class because I want to make my own chocolate and red velvet cakes. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
So for Lifestyle today, we are discussing a very interesting development that has happened over the past 2 days. We have all seen videos or heard comments relating to the fact that a lady by name Moesha Budong granted an interview to Christian Amanpour of CNN and made comments relating to the fact that in Ghana, due to the economic hardship, women have to hook up with men in order to survive. Yes, it's generated a lot of controversy and some issues. So we are going to look at the issue. We've interviewed people to hear what they have to say. So let's take a look at that and then we'll be right back.
Ghana, it's like our economy is just such in a way that you just need someone to take care of you.
Why? Because you can't make enough money?
You can't make enough money.
As a woman here?
As a woman here. Because even when you want to get an apartment, in Ghana, you pay 2 years in advance. Wow. And I just started working. Where will I get money to pay for an apartment for 2 years?
Are you basically telling me that you're having sex with this guy essentially to pay your rent?
Because he can afford to take care of you. But he takes care of me, my financial stuff, my apartment, my car, my rent, everything.
And Christiana, the same for you?
Well, I'm not dating a married man.
So you're dating a single man?
Yes.
Who nonetheless can take care of you. And what does he ask of you for that? What do you have to do for him?
Like to have time for him, make sure you give him good food, and then when he wants to have fun, you make sure you're ready.
What does your man expect of you?
He expects me to be loyal and just to date him only. And give him sex when he wants. Yeah.
And what if you said no one day? He turns up at your house and you got a headache. What does he say?
You can't say no. You have to give him what he wants.
And what if you don't want it that day?
That means he's going to think you're cheating on him.
Holy cow.
Yes, he's going to think you're cheating on him.
And does your man have more mistresses?
Yes.
I believe her words is not a reflection of what is currently happening in Ghana, because there are so many women who are entrepreneurs, and it will surprise you to know that in some homes there are some women who even act as the breadwinners of the house. So for her to make such a statement, honestly speaking, I am totally against it.
It's quite surprising that in today's world you have people like her thinking that you need a man to be able to survive, or you need a man to be able to make it. There are a lot of men out there, but how many of them are working? How many of them are rich? Think about how many of them are married. Think about how many of them are hooked up. Does it mean that whatever be the case, you should get yourself attached to somebody who can take care of you? She doesn't even know what love is.
No, I don't see reason why she was supposed to generalize it and say all women. But then I know some few ladies who are actually dating married men, and then they are so okay with that. But there's not everybody who is really okay with that. We have women who are so okay without men.
Personally, I don't agree with it. I think you should work hard, because there are others there who are also doing it. For instance, I'm not going to brag, but I work aside the office issue. I also sell fabrics. So at least at the end of the day, I can buy whatever I want to buy. And also I'll cut costs. I won't have to buy Gucci bag with Gucci shoe when I know I can't afford for it. Because in fact, when you're going for such things, then you should have more money, because such things are expensive.
Fine, that is Moesha Budong, but it doesn't mean any other lady has the same perception as she thinks. Because most women of nowadays think they can do whatever we the men can do, and they are working very hard and earning it. So Moesha Budong shouldn't confuse the girls growing up, because they are thinking of making things possible on their own way. Yeah.
That's what Ghana is. People like her, she's a celebrity. People are watching her. She's in video clips and all that. So what you say actually goes far. People listen. What are you telling the youth of today? What are you telling the ladies who are coming up, who are looking at you and thinking that you're a superstar, they want to be like you? Then they're growing up and you are building laziness in their minds, that all they can do is to make their bodies look okay, look all nice for a man. If once the man has got cash, good to go.
Is that not what you guys want?
That's not what we want. Not every guy wants like that.
I think the comment is most unfortunate, because she generalized it that women, because some women I know are doing their genuine, legitimate business, going about their daily duties, and they are making ends meet. They don't depend on men or do all sorts of things she claims she does before she can rent an apartment. So I disagree totally with her comment.
So you've seen the video, you've heard what people think about it. Pretty interesting comments there. So ladies, what do you think?
My only problem with what she did or what she said was the fact that she didn't seem to be saying it from her personal, perspective. I mean, I would have been happy if she kept repeating that for her.
Yes.
But to say in Ghana, women and generalize it is where I have an issue, because I really can't say I have an issue with what she said, because that's for her. If it was for her, then that's fine.
I want to say that in the midst of all of the conversation around what she said and what she meant and what the reality is, I want to speak to women who have influence out there, who have a story to tell. It's about time we begin to tell those stories, because the young women don't get to hear enough of the success stories that women have. And unfortunately, when you want to ask of stories, you get very few people being willing to tell their stories. Sometimes because the stories are difficult to tell.
Yeah.
But I feel that with what's happening this past week, women of all shades and sizes and walks of life and achievements and levels should speak up on their stories, because we all have situations, we've all been through, we have our unique stories of where we've had the option to go her way.
Exactly.
And we've decided that we won't. I mean, it's always an option.
Yes, yes.
But it's, I guess, at this point, we're grateful to our viewers for watching. But we'll come same time next week.
Definitely.
We'll still be here. And we'll bring you special episodes of Captured. But what have we spoken about throughout the whole Captured by Women today?
NADMO.
Yes, we had NADMO come in.
Communications Director of NADMO talking to us. That's a NADMO.
NADMO.
That's NADMO.
Yes.
NADMO.
So talking to us about their preparedness for the rainy season. Unfortunately, it feels like we're already in the season. We're now preparing. So we hope that nothing goes wrong. And then we had Alma.
Yes, Alma joined
us.
us
About her journey from corporate into owning her own business.
And then we talked about the purported fake journalists.
Yes.
And the investigation is ongoing. And our hope is that this would be dealt with and we'll all know the outcome so that we can come out of this a better people.
Yeah. So certainly next week we'll come around Captured by Women, same time, 3 p.m. on your favorite TV station, TV3. It will be myself, Petra, and Rosemont. So stay with us. We'll be right back next week and have a good weekend. Bye. We're going to eat our cake.
Bye.
Bye.